Hey everyone, welcome to Happy to See Me. I'm Erika Casupanan. Now this week we're talking to my pal, Ann Pornel. If you don't know Ann, she's a comedian, an actor, and the co-host of the Great Canadian Baking Show. And Ann represents so much to so many people. She is a Filipino woman. She represents size diversity. She has this bold fashion. And she and I became friends because of our love for BTS. So you know we talk about BTS in this episode. Ann brings so much joy to anything she does. She is a joy to watch on TV. She was a joy to talk to. And I hope that she is a joy to listen to. I really think she is. So let's get into it. Hi, Ann Pornel. Thank you for joining me today.
I'm so happy to see your face. Nice to see you again, pal.
I know. It's so nice that we've actually become friends because when I was on Survivor, so many people said to me, oh, there's this Filipino woman and she co-hosts the Great Canadian Baking Show. Are you friends? And I'm thinking, what do you mean? Just because we're both Filipino ladies on TV, we should be friends? And then turns out we actually did become friends. So
Yeah. And why did we become friends, Erika?
Oh, because of the most important thing on the planet, BTS. And we're going to talk about that.
Obviously. Good.
You are an actor, host, comedian, fashion extraordinaire, BTS ARMY. So much to get into with you. I'd love to start with acting and how you got into that, because growing up as a Filipino woman, I never saw any other Filipino people on TV. So when did you decide you wanted to pursue acting and what made you believe that you could do it?
I think what it was is that I got a degree in biological anthropology, and I'm like, what the am I going to do with this? Oh, can I swear?
Yeah, go ahead.
That before we started. Great. It was literally because I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't know what I want to do. So in university, I had started doing sketch comedy, and that was just for fun. That was just a way to meet people and have a social life. But then after I had graduated, just by chance, a friend of a friend was like, oh, there's a sketch troupe that's doing auditions. You should do it. You're funny. And I was like, okay, well, I've done a little bit of comedy in university. So that I auditioned, didn't get into the Sketchersons, but I kept doing sketch comedy. And then I just kept getting opportunities and I just kept saying yes. And literally here we are. Like, it's truly because I fell into it ass first, trying to avoid getting a quote unquote real job. And that's what got me into comedy and acting and everything that it is that I do.
Biological anthropology. So you are not just looks, you are a smart cookie.
I would my grades would argue otherwise. But yeah, like I did the pre-med route because, you know, as an Asian parents would love for their kids to have a very successful profession, not just a job, but a profession. And so trying to be the good only daughter that I am, I wanted to, you know, for myself, have a good job, but also make my parents proud, and quickly realized that that was not going to happen for me. And so I just went along with the things that I was getting opportunities for, and I worked hard at that. And I think that's where my smartness comes in, where it's just a matter of seizing the opportunity, getting good so that you'll be ready for more, bigger, better things to come.
When you first got into comedy, knowing that you were this good science kid, did you feel like a fish out of water initially?
No, because comedy is full of weirdos, right? That's what kind of draws us to the art form. We are the class clowns. We're the ones who found humor and found that you fit in when you're funny. If you're not smart, if you don't have those other things going on, like popularity, those are the things that you use to get attention. And as a kid who was always fat and probably like bit of a temper, I knew that I had to like work hard at being likable. So it was through comedy and just sort of being affable and going along with things, going with the flow, and not taking anything too seriously.
So you were a maldita.
A what?
What? Okay, sorry. If someone is listening to this and they speak Tagalog, let me know if I said that correctly or not. But my parents always called me a maldita, which was like, I'm a diva. I was high maintenance. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I think what I thought of malandi,
Oh,
I
okay. I
would
know that
say.
one too.
Yeah. Malandi. Very like, oh, she's girly. She likes to not likes her look, because that's not only what it's about, but it's about that like vanity and kind of like pay attention to me. So yes, very much I identify with that.
And I feel like being like that within a Filipino family, it's like, wait, I just want to have a personality and an opinion and like things. But then that is seen as difficult. And that kind of changes the way that we head into the world after.
Yes. Because what's another word for difficult? Someone who knows their boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
What's another word for vain? Well, someone who is self-aware as to how they come across. Like you can kind of find the negative and the positive to all of those words that people try to box you in with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So speaking about being boxed in, I feel like you are the type of person who is not in any type of box in the best way possible. And I wanted to
Mm.
talk to you about your role on the Great Canadian Baking Show, because having you co-hosting this national primetime show is an amazing thing for representation of so many communities. And I'm thinking, okay, where do I start? Because you are a fellow Filipino woman. You have this bold
Mhm.
fashion. You also you also represent size diversity. And do you prefer to go by plus size, fat? Like, what's your terminology you prefer?
I am not sensitive at all. I know a lot of other people have opinions on it, but for me, I call myself fat. I know not everyone sees that word as the way I do, but plus size, curvy, anything really.
Okay, amazing. Okay, I'll go with whatever makes sense in the conversation at the
Yeah,
time. So
yeah, of course.
there's so much about having someone like you on TV that I think is so amazing. And I'm thinking, where do I start? And then I saw this quote from you when you're talking about your fashion and the Great Canadian Baking Show. So this is the quote:
Hmm.
"For the first time, maybe ever in my life, in the tent, I get to be one of the pretty ones. I'm the eye candy." Can you tell me more about
Hmm.
that?
Yeah, I think for as long as I've been around in this world, being curvy, being plus size, being fat was very rarely ever seen as a good thing. It kind of automatically made you, or it made me feel that way, not pretty. Like you're not one of the pretty ones, because we know the pretty ones are tall, they're skinny, they're usually fair skinned, all the things that I wasn't. Because that's the beauty standard here in North America. In Asia, in Philippines, it's even more intense, I would say. But feeling that I was the funny one throughout for most of my life was my badge of honor, because I didn't think that the world was ready to see fat people as pretty. Like I've always thought I was cute. I've always thought I was good looking, and maybe I'm super full of myself, but to me, I think I'm hot, and I've always thought I was
You are
hot.
hot.
Thank you very much. I think though the world has only started to accept that, and I use that with finger quotes, because I think people's internalized fat phobia, or the fear and hatred of fat people, is so internalized and it's so deeply ingrained. We don't see it when it comes out, and we don't see it when we say things that are very fat phobic, because it's just so part of us. And so getting to do this job is a blessing in so many ways, but specifically for this, because I get to show myself, and I get to show myself being beautiful, and I get to show myself being done up. I have a wardrobe stylist. I have hair. I have makeup. These things are taken care of for me so that I look the best that I can. And that's not necessarily what I look like all the time. That's the best version of me. But so rarely are fat people afforded the opportunity to look beautiful, to look glamorous, to be pretty, because we never are. And it's only been in the last 10 years where we've started seeing plus size representation in the media. And it's not to say that like people are still going to be fat phobic, and they still very much are. And there's a lot of people who think and let me know that they don't like my body. But I want to know why. Like, why? Is it For what reason? Because a body is a body. It's the vessel you use in this world to move around in. What it looks like in a dress is secondary to what's inside of it. But that's not how the world works. So to get to do the show and to be as pretty as I get to be is amazing because I just get to show all the other fat people. Like that's really what it's about. Showing other curvy folks that, hey, you can take pride in your appearance and you also are beautiful. You also can look this way. And I'm here to show you an example of it because it's not, a lot of it is because we don't see that. We don't see plus folks being beautiful. We see them being funny. We see them being the comedic foil. But now I get to do both. And I really, really love that.
I think that's what's so great about your presence on the show too is, yes, you know, you're representing this group that's underrepresented, but you're doing it in a way where when I see you host the show, it looks like there is so much joy. It looks like there is genuine glee in you talking to these people and you supporting these people, getting a taste of what they've made, talking to someone when they are under pressure. And it seems like it's coming from a very real place. Because I think that it's more than just seeing somebody with a bigger body on TV, but at least as a viewer, it seems like I'm watching someone with a bigger body who is just free to be themselves and they're not limiting themselves in any way.
Yeah, I think what you said is exactly it. I am being allowed to be myself. So not only are we physically seeing a larger body on our television, but we're seeing the joy and the delight in it and the not hiding myself. I'm not shy about who I am. I know what I fucking look like. I have a mirror. I know what my body is. And I don't care that it's fat. I like my body. And we get to see a version of that. And it really is that show because the people who work behind the scenes and the bakers that are there, they're wonderful, kind people. And when you're in an environment like that, you can only bring your best, right? You are bringing the most honest, best version of yourself when you are around people who you feel accept and like and respect you. And I think that says a lot too about that show and how much fun it looks like I'm having because I'm having a blast. Literally, my job is to walk around harassing people. Like, that's the job. Like, yeah, okay, we introduce the bakes, but like me and Alan are just bothering people at the most stressful time in the set. And they're like, oh, thank you. Yeah, we're so relieved that we're not thinking about why this isn't rising, but it's not often that you get to feel like you can be yourself. So I am grateful for everyone part of the baking show that allows that to happen because it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Like if you see me on other things, I might not be the same because I don't feel the same freedom that I feel in the tent. So I think it speaks a lot to your environment as well. Like your environment will dictate how well you feel about yourself and then how honest you are with the world. Because if you are feeling peaceful and happy, you're only going to give that back to the world.
And I think that as the co-host of the show, you are part of creating that environment and you're part of what makes people feel safe when they're there. So were you a big fan of reality TV before you were a co-host? And of any reality TV you watched before, how did that inform how you wanted to approach being a host?
I don't watch a lot of reality. I think the only one that I really habitually watch, I would say, is Drag Race. And yeah, I think that's it. I think I kind of, and Korean variety shows. That's reality.
That's very real.
Yes, it's very, very real. And I honestly, when I got this job, like when I went into audition, I saw who was in the room and I'm like, oh, I'm not getting this. This person has more followers than me. This person has this person did that. So when I was there, I'm like, okay, well, it's not mine. Just have as much fun as you can fucking have. So that I did. And then I got it. And then I'm like, oh, shit. Then what am I going to do? Who do I have to be? What does host Ann look like? And host Ann is just Ann. Like, honestly, like I didn't watch a ton of reality hosts and I didn't watch a lot of shows mind of who the host was, like, because I never saw that as a real job for myself. I only was like, oh, models get to do this job because they're the pretty ones. So I would just say I'm bringing myself authentically as much as I can, and what to do. I think that's the best you can and what we should all aspire to. But you know what? I watched a bit of Nailed It, and I loved how free and funny Nicole Byer was. So I would say that she is a bit of an inspiration in terms of like, I want to tackle this job with that type of fearless funny and that type of like, oh, she's a bit of, because she's kind of trolly a little bit, right? Like she's a bit cheeky. And that's what I wanted to be because that's who I am, and I wanted to let that shine through.
I mean, everyone knows, I was on a reality show. I have lots of friends who have been on reality shows. I think you're my only friend who hosts a reality show. So when I was on the show, I found my interactions with Jeff, the host of Survivor, to be so special because I watched him on TV. It would be so cool that he knew my name and he'd talk to me. And I felt like he really helped to set the tone in terms of challenges or going to tribal council. So as a host, what is your relationship like with the contestants? And how do you try to either make them feel comfortable, make them have a bit more fun, or maybe put a bit of pressure on them?
I think definitely, like, I respect and deeply admire every single baker that comes into that tent because reality TV is so hard. You are made to be vulnerable. You are made to show the most scary parts of yourself because you're under great stress and duress. Now, of course, there is a huge difference between Survivor and the baking show where you are physically and mentally and emotionally so much more strained. But what doesn't change is that there's a camera in front of you. And that's a very scary thing. And not everybody wants or likes that. And they might not know that they don't want it until it's happening. And knowing that, I want to make the people around me feel as comfortable as they can because I know how important that is for me to feel empowered to be the best version of myself. And that's how I interact with the bakers. I try to make them as comfortable as I can by reading them. Some people are a little bit more quiet. Some people love to joke around with me. Some people are somewhere in the middle. But I think very much, to me, as the host, I am not the point of the show. The point of the show is truly the contestants. And for the baking show, there is no show without them, obviously. And I want to honor that to the best of my ability by being as nice and warm and welcoming to them as I can be, because it's scary. I know what it's like to be in front of a camera. It's my job to do that. It's not the baker's job. Their job is to be bakers here in the tent. And so I want to make myself as welcoming and opening so that they can feel that they can do that without judgment. And sometimes that means being a little bit more chatty with them to try to draw them out. Or sometimes it means just being like matching them at their energy. But I definitely think watching a person and really listening to what they have to say and their body language says a lot too. So a lot of it is reading people. I think to be a good host, you have to be really good at reading people and also respecting that not everyone is going to act and behave the same way and might differ from how you think they would react. And it's just about keeping on your toes that way.
I love that you approach it with such empathy because I feel like watching the show, it seems like all your interactions come from a really genuine place. And it's so important to have someone like that there because there's a lot of stresses that come with reality TV. Like you said, people aren't used to being on camera, the stress of competing. All of these people baked as a hobby or baked as a passion, and now they're competing. That's such a weird element to it. And I think another element,
professional.
No, they're having a great time trying to make some good TV. I think another thing that you brought up, which is an unfortunate part of being on reality TV, is being subject to all of these people's opinions about you. And people are not shy about letting you know what they think about you. And I've seen online, sometimes you sass back and you respond. So what makes you decide to respond to something?
Oh, it's because I'm a shithead and I can't help it. Like, I wish I could be a bigger person and not respond. I wish that was the person who I could be because I think that would give me so much more peace. But there's a part of me that is like, that's not fair. Why are you being so rude to me when you don't know me? What you're seeing is a fraction of what's actually happening. And also, you're just commenting on my body because honestly, 90% of it is just people being like, well, she's fat. And you're like, what does that have to fucking do with anything? Here I am trying to be as nice as possible to everyone around me. And this asshole in who knows where is just like at their computer, clickety clacking away. I wish I had the strength to ignore it, but I don't. And I speak up because it's not fair. It's not fair that you get to be nameless and anonymous and attack me because my job happens to be in front of a camera. I used to, and I still do, like, I really have a lot of judgment for the Kardashians because I think they are truly a symptom of what is wrong in a lot of our world these days. But not to say that I even think I come close to having the fame or notoriety or clout that they do, but like, I would be really hard on them. Like in my head, I'd be like, oh, these fucking idiots. They're so dumb. And like, I remember, who was it? I was watching, this was a couple years ago, but it was Laganja's season on Drag Race. And Laganja on her season was very young at the time. I say that now, but at the time I was like, she's so fucking annoying. And I tweeted that. I was like, ugh, love Drag Race, but Laganja, so annoying. Something like that. It wasn't vicious and it wasn't mean, but it was still like mean enough. Like, I don't need to say a negative thing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I was like, oh, that made me feel better. And then she liked the tweet and I'm like,
oh no,
there's a person there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the moment that I was like, you don't need to say every negative thought. You certainly don't need to tweet every negative thought. And it gives you so much more empathy because even though people see you on TV, and I'm sure you can relate to this so much, people think they know you. People think that they know exactly who you are, what your story is, because they watched you on TV say those words. But there is so much more to Erika than what she presents on Survivor. There is so much more to Ann than she presents on the baking show. But people don't realize that. And so when I respond, it's because I want them to know that I'm a real human. I'm not just this mythical person on TV who you cannot touch. I am valuable. I am weak. I am vulnerable. I can hear these things. I can see these things. And it's not fair to me that that my day gets dinged because some asshole was like, oh, I just don't like her. And that's that. That is unfair to me. And my sense of justice is like, well, you know what'll do you right? Talk back. And it never happens because trolls don't care, right? They'll just keep on trolling you. Oh God, I hate that part of this job, truly, is that people think they know you, but you're like, there's still a very real person behind there. And you can say what you want, but understand that a real person is going to hear that and they might be hurt by it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that they're wanting to be visible and contribute to the world. It's one of the drawbacks, right? Because then anybody can come out and say anything. I know that a lot of people say that because they don't think we're real people. And who knows, maybe they're having a bad day. I just tell myself that it's a them thing and it's not a me thing. And I do my best to move forward, even though sometimes, obviously, I'm a person. Sometimes I'll feel like shit after. But do you know what does the opposite of make me feel like shit? And do you know what does the opposite of make you feel like shit? BTS.
Oh God.
We have to talk about.
Is this going to be like, are you going to say that I have to be the bigger person? But it's BTS,
no.
okay.
Be whatever person you want, girl.
Thank you.
BTS has taught us that we can love whatever person we are. So
excellent segue, Erika.
Truly, all roads lead back to BTS, okay?
Absolutely they do.
I want to talk about hobipalooza. Can you tell everybody the story about hobipalooza and how you had this amazing night?
Okay, so basically it starts when hobipalooza was announced, and you and I had already started chatting online.
Oh, and sorry, for the non-BTS people, I need to clarify because we're about to go down a dark hole, so I need to make sure I'm clarifying everything for non-ARMY. J-Hope,
very niche,
but also the biggest musical artist in the world. So
I know. That's why I'm like, for anyone who doesn't know what BTS is, I'm like, do you live with your head in a hole? How do you not know about them? Anyway,
if someone is a fan or not. It's just a when they will become a fan because world domination is happening.
Yes.
So hobipalooza, for context, J-Hope is a member of BTS. His nickname is Hobie, and he was the headliner at Lollapalooza this summer. So all of the BTS ARMY from North America pretty much came out, and we nicknamed the event Hobipalooza. Ann and I went to Hobipalooza together. I think that's the Coles Notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's a great Coles Notes. And just a little bit more of context of that. You and I were just chatting a little bit, and mostly talking about BTS prior to that. And then we both made the decision, like, I actually want to know what you think about this. But it was a pretty big thing to be like, hey, I've got an extra ticket. Do you want to come? And I was like, yes, because Erika had an extra ticket. And so she awfully graciously gave it to me, offered it to me. And I was like, yeah. And we had not met in real life until that point. And it was just to, like, literally only talk about BTS. And then I found myself being like, you know what? We have enough in common that I think this will be a fun time no matter what. And we're also both old enough that it's not going to be any drama. But I was like, to a friend about this, and they're like, so you're just going with a stranger? And I was like, yes, I guess I am.
But I'm Filipino,
but you know what? It turned out.
No, I'm kidding.
But that's the thing. This is it. You're Filipina. You're ARMY, which already tells me enough that I need to know about you. Which means, if I know this is going to sound so ridiculous to those who are not ARMY, but for me, if I meet someone who's ARMY, I already have an idea of what type of a person they are.
Yes,
and it's someone who is accepting, respectful, and probably nice. Probably nice at the very base, if not very nice. And so I was just like, just trust that. You both have enough in common. Just go with it. And so we went, and I was like, I wonder what this is going to be like, hanging around with two sisters who I've really never hung out with before. And it was honestly so much fun. It was so fun because I think the three of us got along really, really well. And like, just were so committed to having a good time. And I think that sense of this and adventure is truly what led that guy to me. So basically, listeners, Erika and I and her sister were being at the, what was it, like the field or like the concert, like the field where Hobie was going to perform. We got there around 4. Hobie was going to be there around 9. And we're just like, let's just watch the acts and camp out. We had just made the choice to stay back because we didn't want to get too far deep into the pit of probably crying and screaming and mobs of ARMY.
We got really into the pit for the K-pop act the day before. We went to see Tomorrow by Together. We got really into it, and it was also the EDM crowd. So we were like, okay, no, we need to breathe.
Love them.
I loved being at the EDM tent, but sorry, we're getting off track.
And it was because I'm like, everyone here is at least 10 years younger than me, and I'm having a great time because I don't care about that. But for Hobipalooza, we wanted to make sure we saw and we heard him. So we were like, let's just hang back towards the back. And so we did. And then as the acts were coming and going, people were moving around. We kind of saw a pocket that was a little bit closer. So we were like, you know what, let's just move a little bit closer. We don't have to get too carried away, but just a little bit. So we did. And when we were standing there, it was about maybe an hour before his set was starting. A guy had come up to me and was like, hey, who are all these people with these lights? And I'm like, oh, those are BTS fans. He's like, huh? And I'm like, Hobie, J-Hope is performing at 9 o'clock here. He's like, oh, who's that? I'm like, BTS is one of the biggest bands in the world, so we're all here to see him. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, thanks. And then he walked away. And I was like, great. I let someone know about BTS and J-Hope. I've done my good deed for the day. So cut to 40 minutes later, we're a little bit closer, and the guy comes back. He's just like, hey, do you want my wristband? And I'm like, what? He's like, I've got a performer wristband that you can get into the pit for. You can get really close to the stage. And I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, you seem to like them, and I don't need them. So do you want it? And I was like, this can't be real. This can't be real. This guy is pranking me. I don't know why he would be pranking me, but I was so overwhelmed that I'm like, this has to be a trick. And it was you who was like, go, 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 like literally shoving me towards him. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And I just started to cry because I'm like, good things like this really happen that often to people in general. And that I was like, of the thousands, literal tens of thousands of people that were in the area to see not only J-Hope, but just at Lollapalooza. Like, this guy could have given it to anyone. I was like, I'm getting this. I traveled from Toronto and now I get to go up close. I just couldn't believe it. And so he took off his bracelet. He's like, enjoy. And then we put it on. And then I was like, I don't know what. And you and your sister just literally shoved me towards the VIP entrance. And then I was just walking around backstage trying to get to, not backstage, but close to the front of the stage, getting to the pit. And I'm like, this can't be real. And then the concert started, and I was literally 15 feet away from J-Hope, and I had the perfect view of Jimin and Bang PD also up in the rafters. So not only did I get to see J-Hope live, so close, Jimin, and I was like, real, the best thing to ever happen to me. And I want everyone to just say yes, because you never know what fun things like that are going to happen. And that is my hobipalooza story. And I forgot that happened, actually. So thank you for reminding me.
You, Crystal is my sister. You, Crystal, and I were saying, oh, it's because Anne is a good girl and it's about time for a good girl to get rewarded. What does it mean to you to be a good girl?
It means, again, and I think I've said this already, put out the good and the good will be returned. I really, really believe that. I don't know that I'm religious necessarily. I don't know necessarily about karma, but I feel like in my life, there are times when I've been great and have been very, very generous with the joy. And there are years where I don't feel as generous and I'm just like sad or angry or whatever, because life does that. In the moments and in the times where I am most generous, I find that that's when life gives back to me. And I just think that why not? Even if that's just by chance, even if it's has nothing to do with one or the other, why not put out more good in the world? The world lacks it. And the more you give out, the more people will recognize that, and the good people will flock to you. And I think that's what being a good girl is having good people also around you, because good attracts good. Like attracts like. And so I think it was also probably the neon pink buns and the light up scrunchies. Let's also say that I was wearing scrunchies that lit up, and probably that's also why the guy found me.
Can you explain to people how and why you got into BTS?
Cole's notes. I was watching a Boy with Love video, and I was like, dude, because I had heard them before, and like in 2016, I kind of not got into K-pop, but I started to be like, oh, there's some really awesome music that's coming out of Korea. BTS was a few of the songs that I liked, but honestly, I was all about CL. So knowing a little bit about them from 5 years prior, this was in pandemic. So set the scene, 2020, everyone's sad, everyone's depressed, everyone's stuck at home. And I was bored and I was watching this music video because it had come up in the algorithm. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to figure out who is who. I think that's the story for most people, right?
That's it.
Everyone is like, I just want to know what their names are and what they like, just that. Because that's all I had no interest in them as humans. And I was like, just do that. Just do that. And so in the effort of trying to learn their names, I was like, oh, these guys are so cute. Oh, they're so fun. Oh, they're so nice. Oh my God, they're so hot. Wow, they work really hard. They're so talented. Oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, they're so hot. Oh, they're so nice. That is the loop I got stuck in. That was literally what saved me in pandemic times. The fact that I had found this group of 7 young men who, by all accounts, seemed to be so respectful, so hardworking, so kind to each other, and very generous in showing that kindness and love. And you don't often see that with males to other males in our society. And I had such a respect for that because, in 2020, I was like, oh, nobody cares about anyone and we're all going to die alone. And here was this group that was showing me the complete opposite of what the world was showing.
Mhm.
And they were that little kernel of like, there is good. The good is what you make and of the people who you surround yourself with. And that's really what like that's what
Mhm.
made me ARMY, is that belief that like there is good in the world and it is up to us to find it and to foster it. And that's what BTS is to me.
Oh, I always want to cry when I think about it because it's true. I feel like the people who are attracted to being part of this fandom, there's a, not to be confused with J-Hope, but there's a hope and there's a belief in the
Yeah.
goodness in the world and the goodness in each other. Yeah. And I think about when I got into BTS, same thing. I was familiar with their music. I heard Boy With Love. I had seen them on SNL. And then during the pandemic, I thought, I want to learn their names. And then all of a sudden, I'm consuming all their
Yes.
content. It's always learning their names.
Always. I love that. I love that.
They became kind of like an emotional support group for me during the pandemic. Okay, when I came off of Survivor, I was subject to a lot of people trying to criticize me, trying to tear me down. And I think I got a new appreciation for BTS then because even though they are the best, they have broken every record, they have done anything that you can do to signify success on this planet. There are still people who don't believe in them. And there are still people who try to discredit their achievements, and they're still very much underdogs. But the thing with them is they never stoop down to a lower level. Any response to any of that criticism, it's within their art. Otherwise, they are always taking the high road. And I think that in a moment where I was dealing with, I don't know, just a lot of silly external inputs about me, I'm seeing this group and I'm seeing they are always going to act with class. They are always going to act with kindness. And any negativity that gets thrown at them, they are just putting positivity into the world instead. And I thought, okay, that's an inspiration to me. They are a role model for me. And I want to be more like BTS. So I will always be grateful to BTS for that. And I think there's a saying, ARMY doesn't find BTS. BTS finds ARMY when ARMY needs it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I completely agree. They also were like for me creatively, this was when I couldn't do shows. You couldn't go because I'm an actor, I'm a comedian, and I mostly do live stuff. Like for up until 2020, I would be doing 2 or 3 shows weekly, and the pandemic took that away. And as a creative, as someone who needs that sort of that gasoline to keep the engine running, there was none of that. And watching their stuff and watching them work so hard, and it gave me my drive back to be like, that is a career I would love to model after. Am I going to have their career? No. But if I can have similar ideals and if I work hard, then that's where happiness is, right? That self-satisfaction of a really good work ethic. And that's what BTS is as well. Like they've been working nonstop until their hiatus for literally 10, 15 years, like on 360 days a year, I would say they were an idol. And I'm like, oh, I'm just lounging in my bed. If the BTS can do it, so can I.
I think that all of the time, to be honest. I'm always like, okay, they did all of this. I can do it too. And I also think about it took them a decade to get to where they are. So I will also be nice to myself about the journey that I'm on now.
Totally.
So before we wrap up, I want to play a quick game with you. This is a game that I used to play when I was on Survivor. My friend from the show, Liana, if she's listening to this, hi, Liana, shout out. Liana and I used to always play this while we were on the island. So we'd play Marry, Fuck, Kill, but with desserts.
I love this game, yes. Oh, with desserts. Okay.
And since you're the co-host of the Great Canadian Baking Show, I know you have opinions on desserts. So I will give you 3 desserts, and you can let me know which one you're going to marry, kill for any reason. And we'll do this for a few rounds.
Okay.
So the first one, a scone versus a donut versus a Danish.
Ooh, okay. I'm a Danish and what was the third?
Donut.
Donut. Okay. This is going to be controversial. but I am going to marry the scone, fuck a donut, and kill the Danish.
I don't know why I think marrying the scone is so funny. It seems like a very safe and comfortable choice, but maybe that's what you want for marriage.
It is. At the end, I could eat a scone every day because scones are quite neutral, right? They're not too sweet. They're not too boring. They're neutral. But like a Danish, get the fuck out of here. It's too much. It's too much. And it's too sticky. I don't want it.
Okay, what about a Nanaimo bar versus an eclair versus an apple pie?
Oh, okay. I'm going to say marry the eclair, kill the Nanaimo bar, and fuck the apple pie like I'm Jason Biggs in American Pie.
It's true. We've seen
all the millennials.
we've seen it on the screen how that works. So it's possible. Ew.
It's possible. Yes, I will put my proverbial dick in that apple pie for sure.
Okay. Strawberry cheesecake versus chocolate cheesecake versus yuzu cheesecake.
Ooh. A hard one. Okay. Always chocolate. Chocolate is my ride or die. Marry chocolate. I'll fuck with the strawberry, and I'll kill the yuzu.
No!
Only because I'm so sick of everyone yelling yuzu at me on the street because I did a commercial 2 years ago where I say the word yuzu. That's why I'm killing yuzu. Galen Weston is not paying my bills anymore. Stop affiliating me with yuzu.
That is not how I saw that going.
Well, I'm here to surprise you, Erika.
Okay, last one. Kim Namjoon versus Kim Suk-jin versus Min Yoongi. I'm kidding. Don't answer. That is a trick question. Don't answer.
No.
Kill me for even saying that as a joke. Don't answer.
I'm so upset.
Marry all of them. I can go myself.
That's the answer. That's 100% the answer right there. That's it.
Well, Anne, thank you so much for coming to chat with me today.
Yeah, thank you. It was so nice to see your face and to chat with you again.
So tell me, where can people watch you? Where can people find you? What are you up to? Promote all your stuff.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at @glampornel, and you can find me on Netflix if you're in Canada, the United States and the world, on the Great Canadian Baking Show. I forgot what the show was called, but actually, Americans. I shouldn't say this, but you can absolutely watch the baking show seasons 4 and 5 on YouTube. Someone illegally put it all up there. So there you go. And I've got a show coming out sometime in this year called, I don't know that I'm allowed to say what it's called, but it'll be on the CW. And I'll just leave it at that for now.
Oh, yeah. And I also saw
another food show.
You're on Run the Burbs too this season.
Yeah. Yes, I forget things.
I'm your publicist
You can
now.
also catch me. Thank you very much. I need it. You can catch me on this season on Run the Burbs. I think I've got 2 episodes in there, and that's a great show. Andrew Fung is an exceptional man, and he is a true Canadian gem.
He is. I love that show.
Yeah.
So, Anne, thank you for joining. I hope we'll chat again soon.
Yeah.
And Bora hey.
Me too. Bora hey. You want to make a finger heart?